MMORPGs have to offer. It's a diverse community. There's a lot of people involved. I mean, thousands of players from across the world, and it was just such a passion of mine to be able to experience that involvement in a game like an MMORPG. Over the past several years, having played MMORPGs, I was kind of not impressed with what has been coming out of the genre. A lot of pay-to-win, cash grab style games, and I just felt that there could be something better. And, you know, if you want to get things done right, sometimes you just have to do them yourself. So in order to accomplish these goals for Ashes of Creation, I really needed to find a team that had a lot of experience with MMORPG production in the past, because as you know, an MMORPG is a massive project. There's a lot of good talent here, and we were able to pull together a pretty amazing team. A team that's worked on Star Wars Galaxies, EverQuest 2, Call of Duty, and a lot of other titles. The reason we're here on Kickstarter is because we want to expand the scope of our project. We want to make it bigger and better. We also want to give an opportunity to you to participate in that community development, to be in on our discussions of design. We feel that Kickstarter and crowdsourcing is a pretty good avenue towards that development. Ashes of Creation is really about 4 primary pillars of our development. It's about our node system, which is an integral part of exactly how the world works and interacts with you as the player. It's also about our meaningful conflict, PvP, and how you can catalyze change in the environment around you. The economy is our 3rd pillar, which focuses on incentivizing you as the player to get out in the world and interact with it. And last, but most important, potentially, is our narrative. The narrative really holds all of those systems together and keeping you as the player interested in exactly what different outcomes come about.
When players first arrive on this world, they're going to find it devoid of civilization, wilderness everywhere, and it's up to the players to kind of bring civilization to this world. These nodes are how players do that. There are tons of nodes throughout the world, and each of them has a zone of influence. This zone of influence captures all the activity of the different players doing different things. It could be crafting, it could be fighting, it could be gathering. Anything that might give you experience is something that the node's going to be paying attention to. And as you level up your character, the node levels up with you. And as it levels, more and more civilization gets attracted to that area.
We want the world to react to the player. That's the most important part, is the world is reacting to your actions.
Different nodes attract different events. The world doesn't stay quiet for long, and civilization disturbs deep and dark things throughout it. A city that grows up on the side of a mountain might dig a little bit too deep and might disturb the things that are below. And that might include like a giant dragon that erupts with a volcano and lays down waste to that node that developed there. And that's something that wouldn't happen any other place. That's an event that's unique to that particular node at that particular time. And because of that, like, players are going to experience this game very differently depending on how they build it. Each server is going to have its own story, and we're pretty excited to see what players do with that. How do they react to that dragon coming out that mountain? Do they pack up their bags and move? Or do they decide to fight it, to gather all of their friends and take down this monster because this is their home? So that's what differentiates our game from most others. It reacts to what the players do. It reacts to the player's decision.
While you're developing these points of civilization, there is a mechanic for change, and change relating to that meaningful conflict.
Because players are motivated by different things, because they want something from the game that other players don't want, that's going to cause people to butt heads. Different players are going to want different experiences, and the conflict between the two of them will create a bigger and better thing. Out of strife comes rebirth, and that's a core symbol, it's a core theme that occurs throughout the game.
Our castle system, our sieges against nodes, the caravan system, battlegrounds that exist, guild wars. We want there to be a meaning to this conflict. We want players to actually have some skin in the game when it comes to participating in PvP. If you own a home in a node and you don't want to see that home destroyed, you need to defend that city. Risk versus reward is what gives you that adrenaline. It gives you that meaning to participate. So what drives you as a player in the game? For a lot of people, it's the economy, and that's why it's our third pillar. We really want the economy to incentivize you to interact with other players, to get out there and get resources to develop the world. We've regionalized our marketplaces. We've regionalized our warehouses. It's not just one global auction house like a lot of games kind of throws the economy to the side. I wanted to emphasize economy.
One major feature in our economy that differs from most fantasy-style MMOs is that we're not approaching it from a global scale. Rather, we're trying to carve the world up into regions and make each one focus independently, while of course at the same time working together. The global auction house isn't something that you're going to find in our game at the early stages, or maybe ever. Rather, you're going to have to go to a town, you're going to have to buy, sell, or gather whatever you want. What this creates is a competitive advantage, much like we have in the real world. Some towns, some areas are going to be better at certain things, some are going to be worse at some things. But the important part is that you get to play a role in who's better at what and who's worse at what. And if you want to be better at something, we're giving you the opportunity to become better at whatever you want.
Creating those regional marketplaces, those regional warehouses, we've incentivized the transit of goods. If you want to create local marketplaces or you want to create a local economy, you can do so because that mithril mine is nearby, and it's not found somewhere else. The Caravan System is what allows you to transit goods to other marketplaces.
The economy is usually something that happens in the background of other games, and from day one, we knew that the economy was going to be something really important to us.
The fourth pillar in Ashes of Creation is our narrative, the story, and how it relates to you, both as an individual and as a member of the greater community.
In Ashes of Creation, we've got three main ways that we're going to be telling the story. One is tasks, one are events, and the final one is our overarching narrative. The narrative is going to be where you find most of the story.
Each server will tell a different story, and this story is going to be told by the players. You're going to experience things differently when it comes to what bosses you've encountered because of how the world develops and how you have developed it.
The node system is going to be what drives what storyline branches players experience. Different NPCs are going to be attracted to different nodes. There's going to be different protagonists and antagonists based on how players build their world. It's all going to relate to the same basic story, but you're going to get different viewpoints on different servers, and you're going to find different bad guys on different servers. It's all going to depend on what players uncover, how they uncover it, and when they uncover it. Different servers are going to be able to talk to each other and figure out kind of what they missed and fill in the blanks and be able to collaborate and build this bigger meta story that you won't get otherwise in other games. So with all of these four main pillars of design, you'll notice that it's really hard for us to talk about any one of them without talking about all of the others. And that's a very core part of our design. It's really important that all of these pieces fit together really well and that they create an engine that allows people to keep experiencing new things.
So I want to give you an opportunity here on our Kickstarter to get involved in this project, to become a part of its development. We have enough self-funding to create a core viable product in Ashes of Creation, but we really want to expand it. We want to make it bigger and better, and we know we can achieve that with your help.
Everybody here at Intrepid Studios is incredibly excited about this project, and we're really hoping that we've infected you with that kind of excitement too. We want to get this thing done, and we want to include everybody to be a part of it. This is going to be a different game, and this is going to change the genre. So if you're as excited as we are, let's do this thing. Let's make this thing happen, because we can only do it with you.
I've been on the other side of that screen. I've seen companies come to Kickstarter and promise the world, and either under-deliver or just don't deliver at all. But the reality is we're not those people. I brought together a team of industry veterans who've spent over 40 years combined working on MMORPGs and have created some pretty amazing titles. That's what we're going to do here with Ashes of Creation. We're going to create an amazing game, a game that you can be proud of. Hello! Can everybody still hear us? We good? Good for sound. Good for sound, yes? Testing, 1, 2. All right, good.
Okay.
You guys can hear us.
All right.
Okay, so that was our Kickstarter video. We gave a pretty thorough synopsis, I guess, of Ashes of Creation and what our overview of the core pillars of our design were. And you know, we had a scheduled guest for today, but we're going to pick that guest up on our Wednesday stream, where I assure you there will be absolutely no technical difficulties. That's going to be at 3 p.m. on this coming Wednesday, 3 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time. And right now we're going to field some questions from you guys on the stream. If you have questions about some of the things you saw in that video or about the Kickstarter itself, myself and Peter and Jennifer are here to answer some of these questions.
We definitely want to reiterate just how grateful we are and how psyched we are to have you with us.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. We are just in awe. We're in awe of the positive support and feedback that we've gotten from all of you. It is truly amazing. Truly amazing. Jennifer, give us our first question that you saw in chat.
Extra Salsa asked, what will the Phoenix Aura look like from the Kickstarter package?
Ooh, that's a good question. Okay, so the Phoenix Aura in the game is going to be a particle effect that surrounds your character in kind of like a glowy fashion.
Right. Kind of like a glowy, fiery.
Right. Yeah, a little bit of a fire aura that will make your character stand out from other players in the game, really, for the most part.
Yeah.
And it'll be toggleable. You can turn it on and off.
Right. We don't want the particle effects to clog up everybody's screen all the time.
Absolutely.
So.
Yeah, that's for sure. But it represents your spirit's connection with one of the primary avatars of one of the gods in the lore of the game, and it represents that you're a kindred spirit with that god, I guess. Good question.
Great question.
What's our next question?
Next question is, what will the currency be like in the game? And this is from Fierpin.
What will the currency be like? So one of the interesting things that I always thought of whenever I played MMORPGs was that I could go out in the wild and I could kill a wolf, or I could kill a bear or some type of monster, and it would drop gold, or it would drop items. And you know, I just thought that it was kind of a disconnect between the immersion that I experienced in the game and what just made sense, sort of. I mean, I don't know.
No, yeah, I mean, I understand that feeling as well. I think that, you know, we're going to have a single currency. I'm not sure how deep this person wants, if they're asking specifically the name of the currency, but, you know, we're gonna have a single currency. Trade is going to be a huge aspect of our game. You know, buying and selling goods is going to be a huge aspect of our game.
Yeah.
Receiving currency for doing certain actions is a huge aspect of our game. So the economy is definitely something that is in the very forefront of our minds.
And one of the most important aspects of the economy is that we, as you saw in the video, we've regionalized our marketplaces and warehouses so that that trading in the economy is very important for local markets. And currency in the game is going to have greater purchasing power based on the local market you're a part of. Right? Because of the supply and demand that exists in the game and for certain resources and gatherables.
Right. We really want, you know, we want distance to matter. We want the regions themselves to matter. So what you're selling in town A is going to be worth, you know, much different value in town B, town C, etc. So instead of the typical global auction house where, okay, you know, this iron bar is worth X, we want that to be worth different things depending on where the iron is, how hard it is to get the iron, you know, where you currently are, those types of things.
Yeah. All right. Good
Okay.
question.
Great question.
Really important question. When will the Sandals DLC be available?
Oh my gosh. All right. So I'm sure many of you on this stream are currently on our official Discord. If you're not on our official Discord, it is discord.gg/Ashes of Creation. And a very popular meme on there at this moment in time is about my sandals. I was on a flight and on Discord, as I often try to go on Discord every day just to interact with the community, because I feel that community interaction from the developer is extremely important, both for a transparent reason and just the sense that the community should be the focus of an MMORPG. I mean, that's the most important part of an MMORPG is that community. So I want to be in touch as much as possible. Anyways, long story short, I fell asleep, I think, on the flight, and when we landed, I was on Discord, and I looked down, and I had lost my sandals. So I let the Discord know that I lost my sandals, and ever since then, it's been a little bit of a meme about my sandals. They may make an appearance in the game as a very powerful end game loot from some type of world boss. I don't know what world boss is going to wear those sandals.
We'll figure it out.
Well, yeah, maybe it's just a part of a dragon horde. Who knows?
All right.
And what was the question? Will there
So,
be?
if there was going to be a Sandal DLC.
Yeah, they won't be DLC. It'll come standard.
All right.
Okay.
Sandals confirmed.
Denman20 would like to know, how will loot work in the game? Is it randomly generated, or does only the good gear come from dungeons, quests, etc.?
So to answer that question, good gear does come from dungeons and bosses. Not in the form necessarily that little monsters are going to have them, but like you'll find them in treasure chests. You'll find them, as loot that you can gain through that way, as well as epic world bosses, boss drops, that kind of thing. But also, and very importantly, is we have an extremely intricate and in-depth crafting system. A crafting system that follows sort of a crafting trinity, I guess, in the sense that there are 3 separate paths that you can develop as a player. There is the gathering, there is the processing, and there is the crafting. And each of these paths require advancement, and you can't be a master of all of them as an individual player. In order to incentivize other crafters to work with each other, crafters to work with gatherers, gatherers to work with processors, and to play again on that local market scene and the regional economy that we've kind of developed. So to answer your question, crafting is going to be able to create the top gear in the game, but there will be a comfortable blend of epic drops that are also going to be loot that's kind of top gear.
Yeah, and to target the random aspect of that question, there's obviously going to be loot tables, and there's going to be tables that we're drawing from. It's never going to be completely random what you're achieving, so I'm not sure if that's what they were getting at, but it's just to clear that up.
Yeah.
Okay. Matt TMXM asks, are all animation placeholders for now, and are we planning to invest in mocap?
Okay, that's a good question. So currently we have one animator on our team, David, and he is amazing at his job. And right now we're really focusing on getting animations up and running for a lot of models so that we can get some activity in the game server that we can use as designers. And we haven't done anywhere near a final pass on animations, nor have we brought on additional animators, but we will be very soon. Right, I believe we have a hiring process going out within the next couple of weeks that we're going to be bringing on at least 2 or 3 more animators. So no, to answer your question in the short, animations currently are not indicative of the final product. We are still in a pre-alpha state. We're not in alpha yet. And you can expect that these animations you're seeing are very unpolished and not representative of what they will be when launch comes, or even when alpha comes and beta comes.
Okay. Onavan asks, what was your first MMO, Stephen?
Oh, wow. Let's see. I am 31 years old, and You're getting close to 31. Let's calm down there. And my first MMORPG was actually, and I know a lot of people play around on the internet with this, but it was the first graphical MMORPG. If you look it up, it was the first MMORPG in a graphical way. It was called Neverwinter Nights. It was the first Neverwinter Nights that was on AOL. And this was back in 1992 when I was 7 years old. I was playing on a old gateway that was using Windows operating system 3.1. You had to pay $6 by the hour to play this game because it was through an ISP, AOL. And let's just say, like me at 7 years old, I really didn't have any understanding of what money was, so to speak, or that you could, the internet's cost money. And at the end of that month, my first addiction to Neverwinter, let's just say I did not have a very fun conversation with my mother for that bill. But no, that was my first MMORPG. And I think at that point, I really kind of got hooked on the whole aspect of what it was to be a part of a community, I guess. And it's hard to understand that at 7 years old, but you were just flooded with these chats that were like these other people. And I didn't know, the only people I knew were in my grade school. Yeah. But yeah, no, it was definitely an interesting game.
Okay, next question. Amateur Master asks, how will PvP be like?
PvP.
So, okay, that's a big question.
That's a huge question. I think that it's important to note that when making an MMORPG, and having played MMORPGs for such a long time, there needs to be a comfortable balance, a comfortable blend between PvP and PvE. I mean, without an environment that means something, without an environment that takes commitment and growth and effort on part of the player base, you're not really going to have much satisfaction when it comes to PvP and how PvP can catalyze change in the world. So we really took an approach of how can we make PvP meaningful and catalyze change that players will see based on events that may happen either organically or even structured events. So PvP in Ashes of Creation revolves around a few systems. First and foremost, it revolves around a flagging system, and flagging systems aren't something that's new. Flagging systems have existed back since, back in the late 90s. We've taken a little bit of a different approach to the flagging system, however, in regards to what type of penalties people take for murdering others. We don't want to incentivize murder. We don't want this to be a gank box, a murder box, whatever. We really want it to be PvP that's going to be incentivizing players to fight back and defend themselves if they're out in the open world. But more importantly, we have more organized PvP, both in an organic sense and in a structured sense, through our castle system, which castles are kind of like the pinnacle of guild achievements in the game. They exert control over the regions that they exist in and over the nodes that the castles have purview over. There is also a siege mechanic related to our node system, and that kind of allows for the players to institute change among nodes, because the way that nodes develop, they lock out other nodes as they're progressing in stages. And we don't want that lockout to be permanent. We want it to be up to the players to determine whether or not civilization should take a new direction. And sieging nodes is a way that can be done. We have our Caravan System, which, again, talking about regionalized marketplaces and economies, the caravans are how we transit goods from those regional places to other places in order to process the goods or sell them in those local markets. And caravans carry with them a static proximity grounds around the caravan, which prompts a player within range to either participate as a defender of that caravan or as a bandit of that caravan, or just not participate at all. It's up to the player. And then lastly, we have guild wars between factions, between guilds that may have some player-driven political issues. We really want the meaning from PvP to be something that's developed by the players.
Right, absolutely. We want them to have to earn something, and we try to make it in such a way where, most players who play MMOs are somewhere in the middle, right? You're a little bit PvP, a little bit PvE, but we went into this realizing that they're also two very distinct populations. Some people, you know, go on the left or right, so to speak, in the situation. And we wanted it to be a loop where PvE is helping PvE and vice versa through the node system and all of the intricacies that are going into that, such as caravans, you know, such as fortresses, for guilds, such as guild wars.
Yeah.
So we really tried to make that an adequate feedback loop for even if you only do PvE or only do PvP, you are actually affecting and earning throughout with the server, you know, as it grows.
Great question. It's a very big topic that we can't fit into one Q&A necessarily. What else we got?
All right, my name is Jack asks, will you be able to, if you wanted, to just craft items in the game? Like you don't need to fight monsters, you just want to be there for the events and crafting.
So a lot of the progression in the crafting class, which is called your artisan class, isn't necessarily locked behind your adventuring class level. However, there will be certain achievements and or tasks that are given to you in the crafting system that may require you to be a certain level in order to...
And there, I mean, there will definitely be, you know, if you're, let's say for example, you're going out and we keep using iron, so I'll just use iron again. But, you know, let's say there's iron out there and it's near, you know, monsters, that there is a spawn nearby. You know, they're not all necessarily going to be super safe areas, but we're also trying to make it so that you can do this class, do the artisan tree, mine ore, and you know, have a functioning economy yourself to be able to move yourself up without having to necessarily dig into areas that you don't enjoy. We really want to make the solo experience personalized to what they want to do.
100%. Yeah, that's true. So to answer your question in short, you absolutely can minimize your involvement in both PvP and or even combat in general, I guess, so to speak, and still advance significantly in the crafting class, the artisan class. But I think to fully reach your potential in that regard, you're going to actually have to get involved in some of the more combat-oriented aspects of the game, not necessarily on a PvP basis, but at least versus nature. That's probably going to require some involvement on your end.
Next question.
Yes.
Can we have the beautiful beard man, nameth Bacon, say hi to everybody on the stream?
Oh, Bacon, they want you to wave.
Want me to duck?
Bacon, we got Bacon.
I can't really tell which way I'm going.
That's Michael Bacon. He's a senior artist here at Intrepid Studios and a generalist. He has a wide variety of talents, not just restricted to art, although he is a true master when it comes to anything art related. But the Baconator is definitely big dog here in the studios.
Okay, awesome. Next question, will seasons affect gameplay and or events?
Seasons will absolutely play a role in both gameplay and certain events. And I think Jeffrey Bard, who's our lead designer, he spoke a little bit about in one of our seasons blogs how seasons will impact your environment, how they may close off certain dungeons or open up certain paths that were previously closed to the people. They're going to affect crop rotations. They're going to affect what NPCs are available, what monsters spawn, the visuals of those monsters. You know, we want immersion in our game to be a fully faceted mechanic where you can enter in and you'll feel so many aspects of the world, including seasons and how it affects your time in the game. So we've made sure that it's not just a visual thing.
Right.
It is intrinsic of other game mechanics.
For sure. I think, you know, seasons are a mechanic that we went into thinking that we definitely wanted to include this to have an impact. And to answer that question, I suppose in a concise way, it's going to have an impact. We just need to do testing to essentially say how impactful it's going to be, which degree are we going to end up with. But that's something that we'll definitely be keeping everybody updated on throughout the process.
Very true, very true.
Okay.
Good question.
What are we going to do to make summoners great again?
Ooh.
Topical.
I have a feeling I know who wrote that.
Oh no, okay. So you know, all of the classes in Ashes of Creation, we have 8 archetypes in Ashes of Creation. And many of you know a little bit about our class structure, but for those of you who don't, you're going to enter the game choosing a primary adventuring class. And you're going to choose from one of those 8 archetypes. And there are 4 martial and 4 arcane. You have a fighter, a tank, a rogue, and a ranger. And then you have a mage, a cleric, a bard, and a summoner. And I guess specifically to answer the question in regards to the summoner, summoners are, along with all of our classes, are going to be very, very awesome.
Well, I mean,
how do I answer that? They're going to be great.
I think we
That'd be bigly
understand,
good.
you know, that the summoner, what the summoner's looking for, what the people who play summoner, I should say, what they're looking for. We're trying to orient things like group skills to make them more dynamic, to,
Right.
you know, to have summons that, to obviously have different summons, to make it enjoyable for the person.
Right.
And I think as we get on and we explain our classes in our blogs and in
Yes.
our updates that will be coming soon, you know, that's when we're really going to release more of that
Right,
information.
absolutely. I think one of my favorite aspects of the summoner class in particular is that you know, since we're a non-pay-to-win game, we'll need to rely heavily on cosmetics and your ability to achieve those cosmetics in game and both in the marketplace. But summoner in particular will have the ability to gain custom appearances for their summon pets.
For sure.
And I think it's going to be really interesting to see each character that focuses on their summoner class having a different representation of those cosmetics for their summons.
Right.
And seeing a large diversity that speaks more to the character of who's playing that summoner.
Absolutely.
You
And
know.
I mean, this, of course, like, you know, since this is more somewhat of a broad class question as well, you know, you're going to get the augmented skills from our
Absolutely.
classes. Once you go into, you know, let's say, for example, you're a summoner fighter, you know, your skills are going to change. Your
Reflect
summons are
that,
going to
yeah.
have different things that they're doing, you
Yeah.
know, and we want people to mess with those hybrids. We want them to figure out, wow, this one really fits my play style. This is the summoner I want to be. And we're excited to see people mess around with that. and
Absolutely.
work through it.
Yeah. I think we'll take one more question and then
Okay.
we'll take it from there.
This is from 10D22. How are you planning on doing servers, and will we see merging if a server's player base dies?
That's a good question.
Heavy hitters.
Well, first of all, obviously our goal is to accurately and proportionately populate our servers so that there's a very healthy number of players, and in order to achieve that goal, obviously this Kickstarter is a great start to that.
Right.
But more importantly, having that relationship with the community to help build our community with Ashes of Creation so that we have a strong player base that is large in numbers really will mitigate the risk in having to consider server merges. But I think that if we were to come up across that issue, it would be a process that's both fair to each of the server populations being considered for that merge.
I mean, it's something we're definitely cognizant of.
Right.
Like, it's not on the back burner. Like, we are always thinking of that in relation to how to move forward. And I think, you know, first step, we're mentioning servers, plural. So
Yes.
we're not thinking a world server, you know,
Oh,
to get
no,
to
yeah.
make sure that's not
Absolutely.
in the thought process there.
Right, multiple servers. You know, we're thinking a very healthy number for the concurrent server usage.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, I hope you guys have enjoyed this Q&A, and we're going to be doing Q&As like this 3 times a week on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 3 p.m. Pacific time. I believe that's GMT -7 at the moment for PDT. So please join us for these Q&As, and we're going to have some guest stars, some streamers who are going to be popping in to chat about the game with us. And we can't reiterate enough just how appreciative we are of the amazing support we've seen so far today in Kickstarter, and what an amazing community that you guys have just developed with us. I mean, if you're not on Discord, go ahead and get on our Discord. If you're not registered, go make sure to register for our site. Follow us on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, just the internets in general, I guess. But anyways, thank you guys. We appreciate it. We love you guys.
Thank you.
We'll see you on Wednesday.
Yep. See you soon.